I like to do a little selfie pre-selfie. Howard.
Just posting on Instagram here. You guys on Instagram?
Yep. Right there.
Oh, that's delightful. What is this?
That's my
At BlabberMalt.
That's my non-winning coconut lime cream ale.
Jesus. I think it's really
That was on purpose. It is. Listen, it has gotten way more mellowed on the.
Oh, that's so easy. That's patio beer right there.
All right, we're rolling.
All right.
We on?
Let's go main show.
I was trying to...
Welcome to the BlabberMalt Show with your hosts, Dave and Matthias, two guys that blabber incessantly about beer, brewing, and bullcrap. Stick around while they brew up another tasty episode.
Hey, all right.
All right, here we are.
Welcome, BlabberMaltsters.
We got episode 24 coming at you, August 29th, 2023.
Absolutely.
It's time to mash in.
Beer.
We got a couple cool guests here today. Who's here with us?
So we have Howard and Chris, as you can see here, today representing the Brewfest Waterfront District, among some other things we're going to talk about today as well.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what.
I don't know. And we're starting out today having a little beverage. Dave, what are we drinking today?
Oh, this is my non-winning coconut lime cream ale.
Let's cheers first, guys.
Definitely cheers.
Non-winning because Dave entered this beer into the Brewfest Waterfront District homebrew competition.
Yes.
It's delightful.
Thank you. You know, I did talk to the guy that did win, and he's coming on the show.
Absolutely.
For our pumpkin beer tasting.
Absolutely.
26th.
And
September.
we still have more spots for that, which is good.
Yeah.
So email us if you want to be in. Make sure you follow us on where the hell do you follow us, Dave?
Well, they can follow us, and subscribe. You found us on Facebook or YouTube, The BlabberMalt Show, and you can find us at BlabberMalt on X and Instagram.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that we talked to these guys about coming on was that now we're on Spotify.
We are.
And, we have the Joe Rogan mics in front of us. And so it's kind of that fit. And the question came up that what?
Oh, here we go.
Beer and
Ivermectin.
So we're talking.
I don't hate the idea.
Don't hate the
It adds
idea.
a rich creaminess.
It's conspiracy theory in beer.
Yeah.
But no, we're not going to talk about that today, I don't think.
Son of a gun.
We already have. It's already out there.
It's already out there into the universe. Dave, how was your weekend? What'd you do?
It was great. We were up at Marblehead just knocking around. Our neighbors across the street invited us over. We got wrecked on the deck. He always has good bourbon, and his buddies brought some rare stuff, and we got to sipping. And next thing you know, it's 1 a.m, and you're banged up. It's a good time.
Sounds like your weekends on the lake?
Yeah.
Sounds
awesome.
like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a crazy weekend. There's a weekend full of beer fests, following up on a great weekend in Lorraine. We were at Saturday at the Avon Lake Beer Fest, which was supporting their schools. And then Sunday, we had the Medina Passport Party.
Really?
So 500 people who finished the passport, the first 500 people who finished the passport this summer, which is visiting all 8 breweries 2 times. We're invited to a passport party where, again, we had a VIP event where we had some food from Blue Heron and specialty beers. But then we just had at Blue Heron, inside, outside, everybody brought their best beers and had a lot of fun. Just a huge party. So,
that's cool.
Shout out to our friends in Medina Brewing Company, and also all of our Medina Brewing Company family and all those in Medina that came out and supported our passport this year. It was superbly successful, and the party was probably the best we've had in 3 years. Just a epic time. Medina people were wonderful. So if you're watching from Medina, we thank you. We love you. And it was just a good weekend.
How many breweries were there?
There were 8.
8. That's good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Medina really blew up.
Big time.
It's awesome to see the expanse and the spread of craft beer and local craft beer, which is really what we do. But when you look around Northeast Ohio and just Ohio in general, there are just so many just breweries, little breweries that you might not know of, but when you get the chance, you really need to get out there, explore it, make yourself a beer excursion, because you're going to find beers that are going to blow your mind. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I travel around for business, and I'm always looking for, is there a brewery near here? You know, and
Yep.
I was out in Bowling Green, and that Astaire,
Astaire, yes.
they're closed on
First
Mondays.
Well,
We talked about that
it's the
too.
day and age we live in. Mondays
yeah.
is not a good day to be open.
So I'll plan my next visit more carefully. I'm gonna get out there and see that guy.
Did you guys get anything fun this weekend?
What did I do this weekend? I was at Franklin Brewing Company. I did go to BlabberMalt. I'm on BlabberMalt almost daily.
Yes, he
Went to
gets
check out
it. He
Disturbed.
gets it.
Yeah, I get it. I
Rock
got
and
it.
roll.
Went to see Disturbed out of Blossom.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
Yes, I
nice.
saw that.
It was an awesome show. It's one I've liked those guys for years.
Absolutely.
And I went with my friend Peggy, and she's a makeup artist, so she's done some work for them
Oh, cool.
through their record label, makeup work on their videos. So she got passes. So we get to go backstage right before they go on and take part in their pre-show ritual, which is a shot
Nice.
and fist bumps. And I'm talking to David Draymond. It was interesting. He was a little perturbed because he was like, we got this $1 million production and we can't use it. It's fire. You're in Blossom. That's a lot of wood.
A lot of wood.
Oh, yeah.
They like, nope, shut that down. So he was in a mood.
Yeah.
And we were talking, I'm like, well, dude, you gotta channel that energy, because it's not really about the production. It's more about the fans and the connection. There had to be at least 15,000 people. There was a really, really big show. So it was really cool to be able to do that and just be backstage for even those few moments. Fist bump, and then we got to follow them up as they went up to the stage, and we went to our seats. So
That's great. So you can
Yeah.
say I helped channel his energy into a more productive vein. That's awesome.
Like, David, it's really about the fans and the
thanks,
interaction.
dude.
The fire would have been cool, but it was still a great light show. And still,
Yeah.
with that kind of energy and that kind of a band and the catalog that they developed over the years, they don't need the fire.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
first
that's
off,
true.
let me say I've known this man for 10 years, and I didn't get an invite, so that's kind of hurtful.
Well,
Thanks
the
for
invite
that.
came from my friend Peggy, so you weren't getting one. Sorry.
Son of a...
I do have a question though. I think everybody's asking the same thing. What was the shot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I tasted like Jaeger, but I wasn't quite sure.
Yes,
if
I was
really
hoping it was Jaeger,
but
for sure.
it tasted like Jaeger. I remember thinking,
Let's go with that.
I don't really know what this
Yeah.
is.
Jaeger.
But it was just cool. It was surreal to be there. It's like, wow, we're going to do a shot and fist bump. Like, literally,
cool.
we're down there for 10 minutes before they go on stage.
Yeah.
So
Badass.
being a musician, I get that feeling. You're like a caged animal. You're like, oh, let me,
Let's go.
I'm ready
Let's
to
go.
go.
Yeah.
But you can't. You have to wait till showtime.
That's great.
Yeah, nice.
So Dave, before we move on, why don't you tell us one more time how to get a hold of us here at BlabberMalt?
The BlabberMalt Show on Facebook and YouTube, and at BlabberMalt on Instagram and X, and also the BlabberMalt Show at Spotify. I keep forgetting that it's just as important to us.
Just as important
So
now.
go to all those platforms and subscribe, do all the things that help us out.
Have you
Heck yeah.
gotten used to calling it X instead of Twitter yet?
X. No.
X marks
You
the
can't.
spot.
You can't
And
tweet.
What spot is it
No,
marking?
and now my kids are they're on playing sports and they get their little films up and whatnot, and you get a retweet. It's not retweeting anymore.
It's not retweeting.
Yeah,
It's reposting.
Reacting.
It's not.
So if you do it 3 times, is it XXX?
Oh.
See, problems,
Yeah,
major
it
problems,
is problems.
Elon.
You didn't think about
We're
it.
thinking
Elon.
about it.
Yeah.
So just dump that and go to Threads.
Threads.
Well, at least,
Threads.
That's old
I
school.
just heard about that. Is it?
Yeah.
No, it's
That's
brand
the
new.
Is it
new
brand new?
hotness.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hot.
Ooh.
That's the new hotness.
Yeah.
Maybe we got to get on Threads, everybody.
You definitely get on Threads.
Email us and let us know if we should.
Unlike
or stay away.
Instagram on Threads, you can post a link and actually click on a link.
Ooh.
to
Okay,
post. You
yeah.
can't do that on Instagram.
No.
It's
No.
a shame.
Click in the bio.
Let's hit the Vorloff.
It's time for the Vorloff.
All right, so we got to talk to these guys about the Brewfest here. I mean, these guys are known for many things. I don't know if you guys listen to the show or not. It's all right. Nobody does.
Oh, not true,
Yeah.
Dave. Not true.
I heard you guys talking about Brewfest. a few episodes.
Thousands of
we
brew
talk about it
viewers.
literally every episode, and we're using the tasting glasses. It's one of our favorite episode or our favorite brew fests in the area.
Totally.
So this fest has been going on. It's over 10 years, isn't it?
It'll be 10 years next year.
Next year
Well,
is
exactly.
gonna be 10 years.
This should have been
Fair.
our 10-year, but the big C word.
Yeah.
Which is why ivermectin IPA is going to have your shelf here soon.
Could have treated everyone. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Come get your horse dewormer.
So before we get into this
Homebrewers,
conversation,
you have your assignment,
yeah.
yes, that might be the key ingredient in this
right?
homebrew
Are
competition.
we doing like Food Network stuff now?
Yes, it might.
All right.
We have in our glasses today our beer of the day. It's Oktoberfest season,
Prost.
Nice.
and this is Avon Brewing Company's Oktoberfest. So
Well,
in your glasses, Brewfest Waterfront District. Here we
chin
go.
chin.
Cheers, guys.
Did you say Chin Chin?
I did.
I love that guy. Pasquale?
Cheers.
You know what I'm talking about?
No,
Oh, you got.
I just use chin chin.
I mean, that's fair. Throw people off.
Oh yeah, that's tasty.
It is. I think it's a great intro into fall.
Yes.
Malty.
Traditional Marzen?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Absolutely fabulous.
I wonder who wrote the recipe.
I don't know. Some handsome guy sitting beside you.
It's creamy for being what it is. It's not opaque, and yet it has that nice soft mouthfeel.
It does. And, between Andrew and Pete, they do a great job of executing all of our beers, including our lagers. This is just a nice, clean, malty, beautiful example of a Marzen.
That's tasty.
Absolutely.
I like
Very
it.
tasty.
And you guys actually were at Avon Brewing Company this evening before
We were
we came here. What were you guys doing there?
working on Brewfest number 10.
Already happening.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, we want to make this one the biggest, best ever, so we started early.
Yeah, we want to talk a lot about
Earlier
that.
than we've ever started.
We want to
That's-
talk to you about that.
That's why he's the boss, whether he wants to admit it or not.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Here we
simply
go. Here we
enjoying
go.
the IPAs
Yeah.
because I saw double dry hopped, double New England on multiple things and said to myself, well, I'm going to have a little taste experience. And
Yes.
it was wonderful. So thank you.
Well, speaking of that, before we get into the Brewfest, this is why you're here. All of our guests, we kind of roll through similar questions, and people come in onto our show asking you about how you got into craft beer. So why don't you both take a turn? Howard, why don't you go first? How did you get into craft beer?
I got into craft beer. It's funny how it all relates back to music. I used to work at the Odeon Concert Club downtown Cleveland, and I started there in '95. And after the shows were over, if we ended at 10 o'clock, it was time to hang out and have a beer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was $1 a beer. So my thought was, I know what Miller Genuine Draft and all the other ones taste like. Let me try that Crooked River, whatever their beer was, or Sam Adams.
And it was the
Cherry
same price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I didn't like it, I only spent $1. So my experience with craft beer began way back in 1995.
Nice.
What about you, Chris?
For me, it was more like I always tell folks, if you recognize me, I am not from Pornhub. I just spent probably like 30 years in retail, so I was everyone's Giant Eagle beer guy. So just through the experience of having to sell the stuff anyways, I started sampling because, as a salesman by trade, if you don't, there's nothing wrong. It's a legitimate business. So if you don't sample everything, then you won't know what you're selling, and I feel like that's a little bit deceitful. And through the process of becoming an alcoholic, I actually really did start to fall in love with the styles, start falling in love with the individual traits of each beer. Then that leads you to research. So, you taste an IPA for the first time after drinking Smirnoff Ices as a child. And
As a child.
And you realize, there's a whole new world of enjoyment out there.
All right, so we're learning a heck of a lot about Chris tonight, everybody. Thank you, Avon Brewing Company IPAs.
Yeah, get some liquid
Yes.
courage before the podcast.
That's what it was.
Pre-show beers.
So, Chris, what was your first then gateway beer into craft beer outside of your icings?
First gateway beer was actually probably Great Lakes Brewing Company's Oh goodness, what was their wheat beer long back in the day?
Holy Moses.
Holy Moses.
Love that
Holy
beer, man.
Moses just changed my world.
Yep.
All of a sudden, there was a beer that I could fall in love with. Before I did, my little brother actually, who was much better at this than I was originally, he just lined me up a bunch of flights, a bunch of beers from Great Lakes, prior to stealing their glasses. Sorry, Great Lakes. And I had Nosferatu. I felt it was ashes and death. Commodore Perry was awful to me. And then I sipped Holy Moses, and my whole life changed. All of a sudden, Bacardi
Is that your
03.
Jesus moment?
It was my come to Jesus moment. And honestly, there's a beer by them. And
Right.
can I send out a little plea to your craft beer audience?
Sure.
All right, you all need to go to Great Lakes Brewing Company and demand that they make Glockenspiel.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh
one.
God!
Yeah, that was good.
Make it more readily available. It was this beer that once I had Holy Moses, I had a hope, and then I had Glockenspiel, bananas and cloves and like rich bubble gum, and it was just such a perfect beer. I never looked back to flavored malt beverages, and it just opened my eyes to what's out there, and it's a beautiful thing. Thanks, Right Lakes.
No,
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you that
The originators.
he can
One
tell
of
you.
the originators.
Dave can talk about this as well, but you're probably in the majority of people who live in our area who would say that Great Lakes was their intro beers.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people. I think he's the first that said it was Holy Moses.
Yeah.
Or I don't know anybody else that remembers Glockenspiel, but that's those are two great beers.
Two great beers. I used to buy Holy Moses when it came out by the case.
Yeah.
That and Christmas Ale were the definite casers for me. It was just a great beer. I think I actually bought a keg once.
Yeah.
Took it on vacation just because it was
You could.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Howard, what about you? What was your kind of your gateway beer into the craft beer?
Sam and M's Cherry Wheat. That was my go-to.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cherry
like
Wheat.
I said, at the Odeon Concert Club, that was, and I think we had Red Stripe, a few of the different flavors from Crooked River. Their ad agency was right across the street from the Odeon Concert Club. It was AdCom at the time,
Okay.
when they were still down in the flats. So the guy would come over to see shows. Hey, brought you guys some Crooked River beer. So I don't remember the flavors because this is so long ago. But do you guys remember Crooked River?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I have some of their glassware.
Nice.
What?
What? Probably like 5 or
Sorry.
6 of them.
Legally-
Oh, it's purchased, I'm sure.
purchased, Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure. No one
one-
stole glasses back in
No
the
one
day.
brought a girl with a giant purse to every brewery you could go to.
We were purging our cabinets, and there were, oh my goodness, humongous wheat glasses from Blue Moon. I'm guessing from every spot in town. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Purse it down.
Seems you
Person-
guys ordered way more beers than there's empties on the table.
Oh, somebody else got those. No, you're good.
Yeah, they.
Somebody else already. Busboy.
We're
Yeah.
spreading your
Your
brand.
busters are phenomenal.
Yeah.
That beer is still, by the way, that beer is still out and around.
Crooked River is?
Well, no, the Sam Adams cherry wheat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that is actually, my neighbor and
Also
our
grab one of
my
those
brother-in-law
occasionally.
Charles. That's his favorite beer, and so we get that for him for his birthday and any other special occasions because, again, classic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talking about adding a little bit of twist on a kind of a classic beer that people are like, oh my gosh, this is crafty. I can do this. And
Yeah,
that
there's
sets you
a-
in motion.
We have there's a guy up in Marblehead, Dave Dunaway. His favorite beer is cherry wheat, Sam Adams, and he has a cooler out on the beach, and he's got a mixture of beers, but he's got some cherry wheats in there. If he offers you a beer and you stick your hand and you grab a cherry wheat, he'll take
Bam,
it.
bam.
He'll take it from you.
You lose your hand.
Not that one.
Not that one,
Pick
please.
another beer.
I actually think Cherry Wheat, my lovely
Maybe you should put that in a
ex-wife,
different place.
was again. She was a full tutor of the Hawaiian punch flavored liqueurs from De Kuyper, and I mean, like we're talking like 8 ounces. The woman, when she was a kid, was drunk all the time, but.
Is that why you married her?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
no, wait a minute.
As
That's
he
why
was
she married
icing
you, 'cause
himself
she was
as a
drunk.
kid.
She didn't know what she was
Yes.
doing.
Like,
This is a great show, Dave.
Not that I ever buy alcohol for underage people when I'm 21.
Chris is coming in on a regular basis from now on.
So,
I'm just letting everybody know.
I got her cherry wheat at a bar once, and she just fell in love. And from then on, I could bring home craft beer, and she would drink it with me. And before that, there was no conversation. She was going straight to the liquor. I'm like, you're gonna last a lot longer on a couple cherry wheats.
Yeah. You got to pace yourself.
Exactly.
So, either you guys homebrew, or did you homebrew?
I did.
Still do?
Nah, you don't want to have the beer that I would brew.
No. Yeah.
I'll stick to the sales and the marketing, and
All right.
I'll come up with the idea, and I try to get Aaron, my partner in Franklin Brewing Company. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you should do this. I could really sell. If you would just do this, I could really sell it.
Yeah, you do it, I'll sell it.
That's on the internet, Aaron, right now.
Shickle.
Yeah.
Out for everybody to hear. You do it, he'll sell it. Chris, tell us about your history of homebrewing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I made over a dozen different home brews. My personal favorite was a strawberry blonde, but I don't do math well. So figuring out the OG, the original gravity on it, was not something that I was good at.
Yep.
So I just kind of assumed. And I think I made a 9% strawberry blonde. And I only know that because the people I feed it to would get violently drunk after they drank one bottle. And, I don't know, violently drunk. But, they were my babies. Every single last one of them. None of them taste good. I realized very quickly I'm not good at making beer. I'm better at drinking it. So, but every single one of them went down the hatch. I had a beer fridge full of my crappy beer. And, man, they made Brown's games a lot more palatable. So, I mean, it was good.
Yeah. I definitely made some beers that are worthy of a drain pour, but yeah.
You kind of just try
They're
to
I'm not going to bitch out.
choke them down,
Yes,
right?
you made them.
What was worse, the torture of your beer or the games?
The games.
After beer 3,
Still.
the 17% Pilsner that I would make somehow, it was totally fine. I didn't care about the games anymore. It was fine.
Were you
And I
trying
gotta
to turn
say-
that factory of sadness into happiness?
Factory of blindness, mostly.
As we, before we head into more Brewfest opportunities, I do want to give you guys an opportunity to talk about how your introduction to craft beer led to really not just a passion for the product, but also kind of a little bit of livelihoodish, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Chris, what is your livelihood?
I sell beers for a very boutique distributor, premium beverage. We don't do anything like macro. You're not going to get like a Budweiser out of us. We don't do that. The closest thing we have to that is Wiedemann's Bohemian Pills or Maumee Bay's Buckeye Beer. So at the very least, what you're getting is an Ohio local brewery. Wiedemann's, by the way, their Bohemian Pills just won Cincinnati Beer of the Year 3 years in a row now. It is a $7.99 six-pack that drinks beautifully. I introduced it. I showed it to some of my older clientele, and they remember it from the 70s when Old Man Wiedemann would make it, and it was straight death on the likes of like Schlitz. But he passed away, regrettably and thankfully, and his son took over.
Thankfully.
This is the best show ever.
And his son took over and was like, I can do this better. Same recipe.
I can
turned
hear
it
him.
into
I can
this
hear him yelling at you right now.
same recipe, absolute perfection. You're paying the same as High Life, and you're getting amazing craft beer.
Yep.
And anytime you can do that, especially as anybody who sells beer for a living watching this, anybody can find that beer that I like to call a transition beer.
Yep.
Where you take someone who is a Bud Light or a Miller Lite or a Coors Light drinker, and you give them something they recognize and they're comfortable with at a price point they recognize and they're comfortable with, but it is a higher quality beer, you've automatically improved their lives.
I don't disagree.
For sure.
Howard, that's a lot to take in and
It
a lot
was.
for you to live up to. And talking about your role as you had, as you were this is a cool thing because Howard, you're a rock star.
Literally.
No.
Literally.
No.
Yes, he is. Don't
Stop.
lie about it.
He is.
Stop.
Howard's a rock star.
I
He's
am-
badass.
just
And
play
on
one
top
on
of
TV.
that,
Stop.
he's also involved in the craft beer industry. Stop. Keep it coming. So this has led you along the path too, from being, in the band and having, introduction to craft beer, and now being part of a brewery in our area. Talk about that. Let's talk about that. Give you a few moments to kind of just tell your story about that and tell us, where you're at with craft beer today.
Again, it all goes back to music. I thank my dad for that. When I was a kid, I was, as you start to get into your pre-teens and your teen years, you start to discover music, and I'm flipping through my dad's albums, those black silver discs that a lot of kids today are like, what is that? That's a weird looking Frisbee. So thumbing through my dad's albums and got into music, started playing guitar, and working in a concert club and being a musician. I met Aaron, my brother from another mother, and we started a band back in 2000. We met in 2003. The first show for us was in 2004. And years go by after doing gigs and all that stuff. He pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, I'm making beer. I want out of the trucking business. What do you think of this?" And the first beer I tried was Richard's Pale Ale, is what we call it now. And I told him it's just as good as anything I'm drinking now, or have been drinking, because I've been drinking craft beer down at the Odeon.
Yep.
So, again, back to music, and we've just stayed friends for all these years, and, came up with Franklin Brewing as a brand. Aaron is a big Benjamin Franklin fan. Quintessential American figure.
who's not really?
Founding father.
Kind of a winner.
And I mean, a lot of people don't know all the things that he did, was a part of, and accomplished before the age of 40. So
Almost everything.
Yeah,
French girls.
Yeah.
everything. So you just threw me right off. The train was going right down the tracks, and you just bam, you checked me right off those tracks.
That's why
Aaron
he's here.
Franklin headed in that direction.
Yeah, so here we are all these years later. We just opened Franklin over in Grafton. But again, going back to the music and Franklin, if there was no Franklin, there'd be no Brewfest.
Yep, for sure.
Back in 2014, we were the only brewer in Lorain County. So this guy's father, along with Bob McDonald and Tony Giardini, thought we need to help Lorain get back on his feet and revitalize after the downturn in the steel industry, which happens to a lot of towns. And their idea was like, let's start a beer event. And, Franklin Brewing's in Lorain County. Let's get them to do it. So we had a few meetings, and we thought, yeah, this would be great. But at the time, we were the smallest brewer in the state. We were brewing 1.5 barrels. So we can't do a beer event ourselves. We don't make anywhere near enough beer. So as the conversations ensued, we decided to pull in 10 brewers, and we set up on 7th Street on August 23rd of 2014, and that was the birth of Brewfest. And I'm a sales and marketing guy, so I wanted to turn it into a brand and something that would build and grow over time. And we met with a lot of naysayers. Remember all the naysayers? And oh my God, no one's going to come, and you're going to have a bunch of drunks, and it's going to be a disaster.
Oh yeah,
we heard
so
every
many
negative comment in the world.
We heard the same thing about tonight, by the way.
fair.
No.
Yeah.
You guys
Hi,
are killing
everybody.
it. You guys are killing it.
Everybody would be drunk.
Just kidding. So, but thinking about that, there's 2 points I want to kind of hit on. The first one is I want to head over to Chris for a second as he. Let's talk about that, because I've heard this story a couple times. Let's hear that history. Let's hear about your father and what that meant to you and what that looks like today and how that was all started. So I think that's a big part of Brewfest.
Yeah, for sure. My dad, Ron Nebukowski, big time. He believed in Lorain. I mean, he was a state senator. He Ohio lottery director. The man loved the state. He loved to work for him. I have myriad stories I could bore you with for hours and hours, but my favorite one is basically in the lead up to the creation of the original Brewfest. He comes to me. I no longer lived at home. I'm married. And he comes, I came over to say hi and a visit, and he goes, "Christopher?" And he goes, "You're a drunk." And I was like, "Well, thanks, Dad." I'm like, "That's an accurate statement, but go on." Because, everyone always talks about that moment their father may have inspired them. This may have been that moment when my father said, "Christopher, you're a drunk." And I go on. He goes, "I'm doing a brew fest."
I'm listening.
Exactly. Like, you have me intrigued, good sir. So he's like, "We're doing a beer festival." And he's like, "I need you to be a part of this." I'm like, "Okay." And he explained it to me, craft beer, that sort of thing. He explained about Howard and Aaron, and I was like, "I'll come to a meeting." I mean, all right. And
Will there be beer?
yeah, exactly. First question. And,
No beer.
The man, I loved him. So show up, meet Howard, meet Aaron, meet Bob, meet all these folks. Realized very, very quickly, as an Amherst kid, I had no concept of the city of Lorain. Mm-hmm. My concept, and I always joke about this, was that Lorain and my dad would have murdered. He yelled at me constantly about this. Lorain is where you get bored and stabbed, and he hated that, and I never understood it as an Amherst kid. And to then go and move to Lorraine and then to take part in processes that are helping the city, very quickly you start to meet people who are so passionate and so smart and so talented, and they're all focused on the same goal. And I had to begrudgingly admit my father was right, not just about the alcoholism, but also about the city of Lorraine. And so, it just became this thing. By the end of the first event, I was smitten. I loved it. I wanted nothing more than to grow the event. And again, the guy sitting next to me is chiefly, the old codgers are great, but this guy right here, this guy is chiefly, with his energy and his drive and his type A personality, is responsible for...
Type A?
You are a sociopath, and I love you for it. And he drove us forward, and it was so good. And every year, I just was like, okay, I might be stressed out for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but Brewfest didn't matter. I wanted to be there. I wanted this to work because every time we'd bring... What was our first Brew Festival? We brought people from Germany. They were visiting family. Yeah. And they said it was a great festival. And it's those little stories, those anecdotes that make you go, we might be on to something here.
Yeah.
And that's why we're excited for year 10, because that's kind of a triumph. It's kind of validation, vindication for the fact that we have really put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Literally, I have bled multiple times. I've seen you. He put me on the top of a ladder once, and I have a terrifying fear of heights. And
but I was on the other ladder up there with you.
But I'm a coward. You're not. And so but it's so good. We're so excited about this event. We're so excited about the city. We're so excited about what we're doing. And we get the opportunity to meet you and to have these interactions right now, just from something so simple at the very beginning where my father insulted me.
Now, your father's no longer with us.
He's no longer with us. No, he passed away 5 years ago now. That's 7 years ago. 2016. Yeah. I thank him for the Cleveland Cavaliers championship. He was an avid Cleveland sports fan. He was also somewhat of a temerarious asshole. So I figured they had to wait until he passed away before they won one. So I said, Dad, I love you. Thank you so much for dying and also for giving us a Cavs championship. My mother thought that wasn't as funny as I thought it was. But, at the time, I thought it was a worthwhile toast. And
let's toast to that. I'll cheers to that.
Drink to your dad.
The old man,
Cheers to
he's up there playing golf right now. He's enjoying himself, drinking a craft beer, and he knows LeBron James got us a championship. Whether you like him or not, he got us one.
That's good.
He did.
Howard, when we talk about Brewfest, right, and I will always say, and we say it almost every show, it is the premier Brewfest in Ohio.
It is.
Bar none, hands really down. Is. Even in the rain, it was the best day ever.
It didn't slow people down.
It actually increased the fun in the hurricane.
I guess I'll just stand in this tent and drink beer.
Yeah.
That's what we did, right? And we went through so much beer, which was so much fun.
Red Rover, let Jimmy come over.
We did. That happened in our tent. We Red Rover across the way.
I heard it.
So
I heard the cheers.
Talk to us about the Brewfest, what's behind it, where does the money go, what does it look like? Who do we support in this process? Because it's literally not just about glasses and bands and a good time.
The mission from day one has always been to bring people to Lorraine to see that they have this misconception that it's this cesspool, and it's not. It's just a city that had some downturn issues with losing the steel mills. I mean, when you lose your major source of industry and everybody moves there to get a job at the steel mill, and that goes away, people start moving away, and you have decay, and you have just issues. And you, as a city, how do you rebuild? And I got involved because I guess I'm a fan of the underdog, and I looked down Broadway and I thought to myself, yeah, it's a little dilapidated, but I don't see that. I see the opportunity. I see what it could be. Yeah, that's just in my DNA.
Yeah,
I look at like, man, this could be really cool if it was just this, or if this got fixed up. And I remember thinking 4 years in that we're doing this beer event, we're bringing these people, and nothing's really happening. But then, little by little, things really started happening. I mean, the new streetscape, new facades going on buildings, the new Broadway signs at the north and the south entrances.
New businesses
and
moving
the
up.
hotel opened
Yeah,
up.
the hotel.
I mean, that hotel had been shuttered for 20 years. It's opened back up.
Yeah,
Bob Early starts doing Rock
Black
on the
River
River in
Landing is
2016.
awesome down there. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Gorgeous,
he's
right?
killing it. He's bringing in, I mean, some of his shows are doing 10, 12,000 people. So it was really just about getting people there. The best way to affect change in any area is to bring people, not just a couple hundred people, thousands of people. So
Correct.
we still have work to do, even though the event has grown every year. There's still plenty of room to grow. We take up the smallest part of Black River Landing when we're there. I'd love to spill over into the field and put the bands on the big stage, but if we do that now, it'll look empty, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the kind of just to piggyback on this, I mean, doing what I do now for a living, selling beer, I'm all over Lorain County, Erie County, and there are so many analogous towns to Lorain, smaller in scale, but they're there. They're old Rust Belt towns that 30, 40 years ago were this place that were like a hive of activity and actual pretty easy living, like good lives. And now everyone's trying to figure out what to do next. And you can use Lorain as that kind of focal point. And if we can get, like we said, you get a couple hundred eyes, maybe not, but 2,000 eyes down to Lorain to see the potential of what happens in a town that takes control of its destiny, then there are so many little cities in this area that can do the same thing, that can take advantage of one particular quirk that makes them special. It's possible, it's doable, and actually, as long as you get the right people who have the right mindset and that kind of sense of idealism mixed with the some thoughtfulness and foresight, you can make that happen. And as far as Lorain's concerned, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. How many places do you drive right up the main drag? You end on Lake Erie. Not on a building,
beautiful.
not on a factory, but on Lake Erie. It's gorgeous. It's why I love doing what I do. Well, many of the reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's a happy place for me, and just that area when I drive through it and when Brewfest is over or before it happens, you know, I'll just drive through there and just think, God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think of a post-COVID world where you don't necessarily have to be at a specific location to do your work.
Mm-hmm.
You have affordable housing. You have, the physical lake there, and you have if you have a boat, you can go out, you go fishing. A couple breweries open up, restaurants. Now you have a little nightlife. I mean, that's a perfect recipe for revitalization to happen.
Yeah, a little renaissance. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
And you can see how excited you two are about just putting on this event. But I know, literally, the event happened 2 weeks ago, a week ago, and you're already planning for next year.
Yeah, let's get into that. Like, what's step number one to start? I mean,
Xanax.
I know about attending a brew fest, and you know about
Facts.
pouring
Yep.
at a brew fest, but we know nothing about putting on a brew fest.
Mm-hmm. Take us through that. What are the steps?
Well, what we're doing now is we're signing brewers. The signups are active. This is the earliest that we've ever made those signups active. You just go to brewfestwd.com, click on Get Involved, click on Breweries, and it's all online. It'll take you right to the link where you can sign up. And the same thing with vendors.
All right.
We have a lot of different cool vendors that come out. We have artists. We have everything from insurance people to Soul Mutts and KM Apparel. And if you haven't seen KM Apparel, they're doing some really, it's all, for apparel, it's all about design work. If you've got really cool design, you're going to move some apparel. So
The pickles, Howard. The pickles. The pickles. Everyone, the
Mr.
pickles.
Crisp.
Yeah, pickles
Mr.
are
Crisp.
pretty good.
Oh, yeah. There's
Yeah,
two
the pickles,
two pickles places that always want to be a part of it. Oh, the pickles, people.
Yeah. And it's just a really cool event. We get a lot of people that come that aren't even necessarily beer drinkers. They just want to be in that environment, which is fun. It's a beautiful facility. I hear it every year. Heard it again this year. Oh my God, I didn't know this was here. This is really cool.
That's the point.
That's
people.
why
Yeah.
we're doing this,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
bring you here.
Yeah.
So I think what happened? What was the change from on the street? Was it 7th Street?
Mm-hmm.
And you just do that 1 year?
Well, we started on 7th Street because that was, our is this going to work? Is anybody come? It was basically an experiment.
Can I tell our funny story? Am I allowed?
You've already done a lot, so let's go for it.
So our first experience on 7th Street, we had the best of intentions, and let me just go ahead and say that we aren't these people. We love everyone. What we didn't know is when they offered us 7th Street in Lorraine to do our event, it was right next to a halfway house for people in AA.
Oh.
It was awful and soul-crushing because they're outside reading Bibles to us, which it was beautiful, but telling us we were going to burn in hell for what we were doing. Okay, we moved it out of 7th Street really, really fast the next year because we took over Broadway. I'll let you
Well,
know
we took over Broadway because we knew the event was going to grow.
Yeah.
7th Street, we had literally 5 brewers on each side, and
Yep.
I can't remember. It's a couple hundred feet from Broadway to where we entered it, basically in between the buildings on that block. We had the band tent down at the end. We had a food truck on the other end, and a couple times during it was packed.
Yeah.
It was hard to move.
It was.
And people were like, oh my God, this actually worked. There's people here. I remember, a couple, prominent figures out in Lorraine, Curtin Page, that started up Speak of the Devil Cocktail Lounge. She said to me a few weeks ago, I remember saying to you after the event was over, thank you for putting on a really good event that I had nothing to do with. So we knew we had something. After the event was over, a lot of the naysayers came up and, okay, sorry, maybe you guys have something here. So we started on the next event, and we put it on, we closed Broadway, and we had 30-some brewers that year.
Oh, wow.
And even more vendors and more food trucks and bands and the whole thing. And I remember, you remember Chase Rittenauer, the mayor at the time?
Man.
I remember him coming up to me and saying, I don't think I've seen this many people on Broadway ever. Now, Chase is a young guy. I don't even know if he was, I don't think he was even 40 at the time.
No, he was like in his early 30s at that point. He's younger than me.
Yeah. So, the goal was always to continue to grow it and turn this into one of the region's premier events.
Yeah, so 7th Street to Broadway, Broadway to the landings.
Broadway to Black River Landing, because the third year was the first rainstorm.
Rainstorm.
And
That was a crazy year.
it was. And the thing
And
with,
fun, though. People still talk
they
about it
do,
today.
They do, but as far as an event goes, you've got so we took over Broadway, and all the vendors and the tents are on the left and the right side of the street, all the way kind of like up against the curb. But when that rain hit, there was so much water that you're literally standing in 2 or 3 inches of water.
It
if
flooded.
not more.
And then the wind started.
And then the wind
Tents were
started.
flying.
We started losing power. And I remember being in tents, holding it down with my girlfriend behind me, thinking, "Why did you ask me to come to this?"
To hold down the tent.
And
You serve a purpose.
the bands didn't get to play their full sets. I think only the first and second band played, and the second band got interrupted. Third band, the sound crew was like, "Nope, we're done. We're shutting it down." So I knew at that point. Plus, we had $5,000 just in tents.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was so.
Plus the logistics of shutting down the street and running this. So I thought, we're going to Black River Landing next year. And met with resistance because we were still kind of working under the old committee, and there were some, older people that had come over from a prior committee. And that was when Bob McDonald, who was the chairman at the time, said, "I'm too old for this. You know what? I'm out. Howard, you're the new chairman." And I'm like,
Okay.
is he talking to me?
Yeah. That's what you
Okay. So I had to kind of drag the committee down to Black River Landing and say, look, these permanent pavilion structures, they're not going anywhere. We're not going to have to hold these down.
Or rent tents.
Or rent tents. Or, there's power in all of these. So when we need power, guess what? It's going to stay.
Yeah.
We're not going to lose power
We're
because
not running extension
we're running
cords.
8 million
So many
extension cords
extension
into a building that's been abandoned, and who knows when they pay the last electric bill. Hoping that, please let the power stay in that building while we're doing this. So once we had that conversation and did the walkthrough at Black River Landing, they said, okay, you got a point.
Yeah.
So Black River Landing became our home after the...
Nice. See? Sales and marketing right here.
And the added benefit was the whole point of doing Brewfest was to help the downtown.
Yep.
When we're closing the streets
I thought it was to get drunk.
Also, yes.
Okay.
But, when we're closing the street, we're also closing the through traffic to these businesses.
Yep.
So by taking it to Black River Landing, we're still a big event that draws a couple thousand people. But those couple thousand people have to go somewhere elsewhere. And whether that's one of the bars or restaurants nearby, a shop because they're drunk and they're about to make bad decisions, it doesn't matter. That is what we were here for. We want to help the businesses downtown.
And the vision, again, maybe to even grow and have the main stage in the whole area. I mean, I see it happening 100%.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like I said, Premier Brewfest, it's going to happen. Is it hard, though? Like, there's lots of breweries. And what I love about it, it's not just breweries. There's a whole bunch of vendors, which is what we took to go to Medina. And we have vendors now on all of our events because it's fun.
Yep.
They get local vendors and food, right? So you have food trucks,
Yes.
talent, equipment. Well, what are some of those difficulties or challenges or fun things about some of those ideas?
It's just managing all of it because there are so many pieces to the puzzle, and it's very easy for that train, once it starts rolling, it very easily starts to veer off the tracks in terms of who's coming, who's not coming, what are we paying this band, is that band coming, can they, will they, if we pay them this much, will they sell tickets, is it an attraction, and just managing all the different little things. And I remember second or third year, I said, people just started asking all these questions, and it became a matter of, improvise, overcome. And adapt.
Yeah.
Because you have to take that attitude, because you're going to get asked questions you don't know the answer to. We learn something every single year. So we try to take that back, put it back into our notes and say, this is where we were successful. This is where we failed. How do we make it better? That's just my DNA. How do we make this better? Because as going to events from the brewery standpoint, from Franklin, I've been to events where I see the event coordinator and I've got a couple questions, and it's like, oh my God, you're gonna ask me questions? Don't ask me. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be here. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I don't want people to ever think that of me. If they ask me a question I don't know the answer to, my answer is, let me think about that. I'll get back to you.
Talk to Chris.
Yeah, right.
Or, hey, Chris, come here.
And as a brewery owner, you guys pay well for your beer, comparatively.
Yeah, I mean, and we get hit up all the time for events. Will you donate beer, or will you discount your beer? And my thought is,
check swaps.
Why? We're going to make our money. We're a nonprofit, like most of the other events that do this, because we all go after that F2 permit, so we tie in with a nonprofit. But to me, that's not an excuse to bring in vendors, brewers, or whoever to not pay them.
Right.
I mean, I'm sales and marketing. You get paid. I want you to get paid.
Because I want you to come back.
Yes.
We have to abide by these goofy state laws. I'd rather charge the brewers, hey, I'm going to charge you $200, but you can sell your samples for $1.
Yeah.
Sell as much as you can, but we can't do that in Ohio.
No. Yeah.
So I look at it as, a lot of brewers, and we still talk to brewers that just don't want to come. Oh, we don't do events. We don't believe in events. But I look at it as like, what are you talking about? You get to meet with people, converse with people, and invite them back to your brewery.
Yeah.
Because people do travel to go to breweries.
Oh, no, and it's a talky
might not
event,
be
too.
your-
There's some that aren't. It's a talky event. People want to say hi to you guys and to me and everybody
Well,
else.
yeah,
and
they don't
it's
care about
important.
me. They want to talk to the brewers.
Yeah, it's great.
Because
We love it.
brewers are the rock stars of the event. So
Sure.
it's not about me or any of us. It's really about the brewers. So we really try to stress that if you're coming, bring your brewer. Don't send a volunteer that's going to stand there and doesn't know anything about the history of your company, why you started. And a lot of these events are that. You go and you could just tell there's no one even from that brewery in that section.
Well, and that's why, and Howard gets full credit for this. We partnered with Tiger Brew, and Tiger Brew is awesome because not only does it offer you a chance to get a little locket or whatever to say, hey, Brewfest, but it also encourages you to go to any of these breweries. And Howard can speak to more detail on that, but that's a great little added benefit because we're trying to push people out into the marketplace to visit their local breweries. And they're not so local breweries, but they're Ohio breweries.
Yeah.
And get out there, experience all the different beers that our state has to offer. And, a little trinket, I mean, doesn't sound like much to some folks, but That's that little kind of that reward, that medallion they can wear around their neck that says, "Hey, I was here. Have you been here? No, I'm better than you."
Well, it's that memory, and that's the whole thing with Brewfest too. Is it's become this tradition. We see families gathering, and I see people that are like, you know what? Don't make any plans for the second Saturday in August because I'm going to Brewfest.
Yeah.
So don't invite me anywhere. I'm going to Brewfest. It's the second Saturday in August.
So on that note, before we move on, tell us when the date is, how to reach you, any socials that you have out there, social media, and your website.
So number 10.
Yeah.
10th year.
So how long has Avon Brewing been in
7.
business? 7 years. Have you seen any beer events make it to year number 10?
This is the best one. I tell everybody. Premier event every week
But
on our
have you
show.
seen any make it to 10?
No.
I don't think so either.
Not
I
yet.
mean, as Franklin,
Not
we've
yet.
gone to different events.
Can we add
and-
that layer then? We made it. We're gonna make it to 10 years, and it just so happens that our 10th event happens to fall on Saturday, August
August
10th.
10th.
Boom.
Perfect.
Fortuitous. It is absolutely meant to be. If you had any reason to doubt it, if your horoscope had you confused, your quartz crystals aren't talking to you right, doesn't matter. Read Garfield and understand that the 10th is the 10th. And we're going to have the 10th event on the 10th of August next year. Make your plans. You know, it's
Save
so
the date.
easy.
Where do you get tickets, Howard?
Save the date.
We haven't put tickets on sale yet, but we are going to soon. We're changing up our ticket portal, so that'll be forthcoming. But everything is at brewfestwd.com. Vendors, you can sign up now. We're done with food trucks. We don't need food trucks. If you're any kind of a vendor, especially if you're an artist, we're starting to see some artists come in, and that's being creative, being a musician, brewer.
Yep.
It's all about the creativity. So if you're an artist out there, and even whether you have beer related art or not, sign up for Brewfest.
Yep.
There's thousands of people coming. This is going to be the biggest, best event yet, which is why we've already started planning it. We've never started this early.
Never.
Again, because it's the 10-year anniversary, so we want to make it the biggest, best event that we can. All our socials, we're probably most active on Facebook, but we do Instagram and
A little bit of
X.
X, whatever the hell it
a little
is.
bit of X. I
do some X,
I
huh?
might
Perfect.
ixnay the X. I don't know.
BrewfestWD.com.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Before we head on, how do you find us here at the BlabberMalt Show?
The BlabberMalt Show on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. At BlabberMalt on X and Instagram.
Hit that like button,
It's time
share.
for-
All right.
We're boiling.
Boiling, let's go.
Boiling?
Hey, man. We got beer releases.
We do.
We're going to talk about some beer releases.
Beer releases. Sweet.
Twin Oast Prost is going to be released at their Oasttoberfest.
good.
That's a good Oktoberfest
a nice
as
event.
well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Terrestrial has Space Chimp. I'd like to mention those guys. They're always coming out with something like
Killer.
every other day.
Yep.
That's a Belgian wit with orange and coriander.
Winning.
Fatheads has Wicked Willie's coming out, a West Coast IPA.
My Willie is wicked.
Yeah.
Simcoe, though. I love Simcoe.
Simcoe?
Mosaic
Oh.
I'm not
beer.
sure if Fatheads knows anything about West Coast IPAs, but
It's kind of their bag.
yeah, it's kind of what they do. So
We,
it's going to be
we released our Oktoberfest this week.
yeah.
And then next week, we're going to release our 99 pumpkins.
Oh,
Ooh.
dude, we're getting some of that
So
for the
good.
pumpkin tasting, right?
We for sure
Okay,
are.
okay,
Saving you some.
Sweet. Beer events
Yep.
coming up. Cleveland Oktoberfest is kicking off September 1st through the 4th, and then the 8th and 9th at the fairgrounds. They have tons of bands, tons of breweries. And we talked about this
Great food.
before. Probably one of the best Oktoberfests in the country.
I would
Oh,
agree.
yeah,
say
I can
that
see
for
it. Yeah,
sure.
a lot of people are saying that, yeah.
I mean, it's
It's legit.
legit for sure. I came across this one at Ill Mannered or Ill Will Brewing
Mhm.
Company in Columbiana. Their Fueled Fest.
Saw that.
They have like 20 breweries, including Magic City, Froth from Buffalo, New York, which I'm not familiar with them. Fun Guys from Raleigh. Early entry 1 to 6, and then if you wait till 2, you can get regular entry and designated driver
Yep.
as well. And I found this. This is run by a company called Fueled by Hops, And I'm glad we got these guys on here because this is a company that runs brew fests. If you want to have a brew fest, they come in. They have staff that they'll send to come. And, I mean, even before, they'll talk to the venue, make sure all their insurance is in order, get the legal things ironed out.
Mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, and then they have setup staff and tear down staff. And I'm interested in you guys talking about what do you think of that business model as something that you sponsor. They're based in Western Pennsylvania, so most of their stuff is kind of around the Ohio, Pennsylvania.
They have a Facebook page.
They do.
And I've actually been a member of it for a few years now.
Okay.
We talked a few times, the guys who run it, just bringing it up, talking about Brewfest, and they're passionate. They're really good guys. Actually, I like what they're doing.
Okay.
It's really cool. I mean, we're kind of in control of what we're doing here. We know what we're
Sure.
doing.
Yeah, you guys know what you're doing.
But what they're doing is a great avenue for anyone who wants to start an event.
Yep.
Because they know what they're talking about. They have a good system, and just kind of follow along once in a while. I mean, I just dabble on their page, but it's actually really great.
But I'm happy you said that because you're being very political. Your father's coming out in you, but to be completely fair, what makes Brewfest Waterfront District the premier event is that local people are giving a crap about what is happening in their area, and they're putting the time and the work and the effort in. I mean, those pictures of you in the rain, you were wetter before the rain happened than after.
From hauling those water bottles around.
That matters.
I sweat a lot. God.
That matters, right? It just does. It matters.
You
And I
were working
appreciate
hard.
the effort you guys put in
You were working
for
hard.
Brewfest to support our county and the city of Lorraine. I really appreciate it. I do.
We love what we do.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Dave, I know we have a lot to talk about in terms of like not just beer, but also music and other
Yes.
BS.
Music.
You're a music guy. I think you found some really cool events coming up.
I found some stuff coming up.
Sweet.
West Harbor, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, they're having a little like festival, and they got Boaterhead coming up.
Nice.
They play some yacht rock,
Yep.
70s, 80s.
Give me that yacht rock.
But they're really cool. They're really fun band. Drink some beers. Check them out. So they're going to be there September 9th. They're also at Cleveland Oktoberfest coming up on the 4th.
Nice.
So I put this show, Death Clock and Baby Metal.
House of Blues, right?
Yeah.
Or
No, the Agora.
The
Agora.
Agora. They stepped up. Bigger venue.
September 6th. I've been following this guitar player on YouTube, Nilly Brosh.
Oh, yeah.
She's just a shredder. But she's playing with Death Clock now.
Oh,
That's
I didn't know
awesome.
that.
So-
I found her through the girl that plays with, there's a Led Zeppelin tribute band. I'm totally drawing a blank on her name. She's beautiful. Zepparella, I think they're called.
Okay. I'm not
And
familiar.
the main guitar player, and Nilly are great friends.
Okay.
So that's
She
how
had
I
dark
found,
hair.
That's like reddish.
Yeah.
But
So
that's how I
YouTube's
found
fun
out
to
about
watch these people.
Nilly was through her.
okay.
Shredding online.
Oh, yeah. She's like
Shred-tastic.
ridiculous.
I like that.
Shredtastic.
Shine Down, also the same day,
Oh, yeah.
6th, Blossom. I like Shine Down.
I
right?
love
Yeah,
Shine.
great.
Great. I mean, the catalog that they've built up. I like the older material a little more so because it's
Yeah.
more organic and guitar driven. Where now it's a little more. I don't know if I want to say computer oriented, but more
You sound
loops
pretentious
and
right
more. Do I? Well,
I like
You
the
when you
sound
started
of-
as one thing and you
I
became
like the sound of a
something
tube
else.
amp.
Yeah, right.
Preferably.
I like a guitar player that's actually playing the guitar, not pretending
Oh,
and someone's
don't-
playing backstage.
Don't get me started on that. Playing the tracks and
Tracks.
stuff. Yeah.
No, but it's Shine Down, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, they're good. Corey Taylor's coming September 7th.
CMFT.
Yeah, and that's in support of his solo album, right? It's not it's not.
Yeah.
He's with Slipknot.
Slipknot.
But I love Slipknot and
Stone Sour. By the
Stone
way.
Sour.
I think
Oh,
Stone
yeah.
Sour is kind of
See,
on the back
listen,
burner. Sounds
this
like.
gentleman said that, rock, I'm not so much. And you're talking about music. Bam,
He's
bam,
ripping
bam,
off-
knocking
he's
it out.
ripping off side projects. Not music, but Anthony Jeselnik, October 7th. He's a
Fabulous.
very offensive, sarcastic comedian. He's great.
Yeah.
Would you believe
Ten-
I like him?
At Temple
No,
Live.
I wouldn't
No,
do that.
never.
Yeah.
At Temple Live.
Yep.
Now you notice that there weren't any other artists of my genres out there. So that's my fault. I didn't get you anything. There's a lot coming up.
All right. What's coming up?
So I don't know. It's my fault.
Oh.
I
What's
your
started school
genre?
this. I started school this week. So
I thought you were done with that.
I don't teach anymore. But I work in the communications department at JVS.
Oh, I thought you failed high school. Oh, that's awesome.
He's working on his GED.
My GED.
Jed.
Oh man.
Getting my Jed.
So before we sign off today, we're about out of time. If you have any questions for us, you have any questions about Brewfest Waterfront District or anything we talked about here today, how to find Avon Brewing Company Oktoberfest or any of the wonderful events we've talked about here today, you can email us at blabbermalt@gmail.com. And how do you find the rest of us?
The BlabberMalt Show, Instagram. No, that's not true. Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, at BlabberMalt on Instagram and X.
Absolutely. And then
He always
Brewfest
makes
Waterfront District at
I know, it's hard.
brewfestwd.com.
We're all over Facebook. That's our biggest, probably our biggest social media. But we're on Instagram too.
Guys, one more time before we end today, we still have a few spots left open. I think there's like 2 or 3, maybe 2 for sure.
No, we're locked up.
We're locked up now?
We're locked up.
Oh, no.
We-
For
we-
our pumpkin?
We got a couple
Tasting?
people behind the bar too.
Well, get yourself online. Email us if you're
Get on
interested.
the waiting list.
Get on the waiting list. People have dropped off already, so get yourself together. We have a
Quitters.
pumpkin tasting coming up. We're live every week, right? And we
Yep.
haven't not quite locked in on next week's event,
Okay.
but follow us for more information.
Yeah, we'll post some stuff. We're getting better. Posting more things.
Dave's getting better. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
We're here in his basement. We're rocking it out, hanging out with the Brewfest crew. Until
His
then,
mom's
guys.
really nice.
She is? How do you know?
She's upstairs making brownies right now. She is. Tapioca pudding, too. I'm not sure.
Ma,
Well, on that note, guys, until
lasagna.
next time, stay malty, Cleveland.
Woo! What we gonna do now?
Yeah,
Oh, cat 201.